What's up YouTube, welcome back to another video on my channel Skotrix, and today as you can see we are back on NBA 2K21 Next Gen, but not on the actual game, because today we are going to be ranking all of the best finishing badges in NBA 2K21 Next Gen, using this scale right here that you can see on the screen, with S being the best tier, then A being the second best, all the way down to F, which is the worst obviously. I'm going to be ranking every single finishing badge on this chart and giving a brief explanation of why I'm putting the badges where I put them, and also what the badges do and what they help with. So without any further ado, let's get right into the video here. Alright, so before I start the badges, I just want to say really quickly, this is going to be the first day in a 5-day series on my channel, where today I'm doing the best finishing badges, tomorrow we'll be shooting, the day after that will be playmaking, then defense badges, and then the last day will be ranking every single badge in NBA 2K21 Next Gen. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already so you can see all of that. But let's get into it right here. First off, we have Acrobat. I'm going to be going in alphabetical order, and Acrobat is actually a really good badge in Next Gen, so I'm going to put it in the A tier, and I'll explain why. Some people might think this is high, but I'll explain why it's really not, because Acrobat is not the same badge that it was in NBA 2K21 current gen, or NBA 2K20, or any 2K before that. It's really a lot better in Next Gen, and the reason is it's not just the Acrobat badge. They took out the fancy footwork and they basically combined what fancy footwork does with what Acrobat does and made it into one badge, and that's Acrobat this year. And what I mean by that is, even though Acrobat still does do the same thing it did last year, which is increase your likelihood of making layups that are like spin layups, half spins, reverse, euro steps, hop steps, cradles, all that, it also gives an additional boost to helping you beat defenders while using gathers, which is basically what fancy footwork did the last 2 years in 2K. So this is really a good badge. It's basically two badges put together into one, so it's really worth investing into if you have the badge points. I recommend getting it onto silver for sure, but if you do get this badge onto Hall of Fame, you unlock fancy playground layups, which is basically like all those layups where you do like weird 540 underhand layups and between the legs 360 layups and all that. I'm sure you guys have seen them before in the park, but if you haven't, that's how you unlock them this year. You have to have Acrobat onto Hall of Fame. So now let's go on to the next badge right here, and that is going to be Back Down Punisher. Now, I know the icon right here for Back Down Punisher isn't the actual one that it is in the game, but this badge right here is going to be Back Down Punisher for the purposes of this video, and I'm going to put this one into the D category. This isn't a terrible badge, but it's really not worth investing into unless you're like a post scorer or like a really inside big man where you like playing with your back to the basket. If you're just like a 6'9" slasher big man, this really isn't the best badge for you to put on. And obviously if you're a guard, this badge definitely isn't worth investing into. It's really only good for big man like 7 foot plus, where you're going to be scoring majority of your points backing down to the basket. If you're doing that, this is a definitely badge that you're going to want. If not, you can ignore this badge for sure. It's really not worth putting on. So now we're going on to Dream Shake right here. Dream Shake I'm going to put into the B category, and the reason why is this is really the best badge for the type of build that I just described. A 7 foot plus back to the basket big. This is a super good badge. It was a playmaking badge last year, and now it's a finishing badge, which I think makes a lot more sense, and it really is a pretty good badge for big men if you think you're going to be scoring the majority of your points in the paint. And even if you're like a 6'9" big man and you have at least like 15 to 20 finishing badges, you may want to consider putting this badge on. Maybe not, but you might want to consider it. What it does is it increases the likelihood of a post move fake stunning a defender, but also it increases the likelihood of a shot going in after a post move or a shot fake in the paint. So that second part right there is basically why you might want it if you're like a 6'9" slasher build. So if you go into the paint and you go up, pump fake somebody, and they jump and then you try to go around them and go up, this badge will increase the likelihood of that shot going in by a lot. So it is a decent badge if you're like a 6'9" slasher, but really I recommend it more for traditional inside big man builds. So that's Dream Shake right there. Next up we have another big man badge, and that's Drop Stepper, and I'm going to put Drop Stepper all the way down into the E category. I don't recommend getting this unless you're going to be doing drop steps. It also helps with post move hop steps, which is not the same as like a slashing hop step. So unless you're going to be a big man or a post scorer, or you're just going to do drop steps a lot, I really don't recommend this badge. You really don't need it unless you fall into that category. And next up we have Fearless Finisher right here. Now this is actually a pretty good badge. I'm going to put it into the A category right here. It's similar to Relentless Finisher. What it does is strengthens a player ability to absorb contact and still finish at the rim, and it also reduces the amount of energy loss for contact layups. So it's a pretty good badge, very similar to Relentless Finisher last year. If you are a slasher in this game and you have at least 15 finishing badges, I think this is a badge that you're definitely going to want to invest into onto Gold or Hall of Fame for sure. It's a really good all-around badge for pretty much any build. So that's Fearless Finisher right there. Now on to Giant Slayer right here. I'm going to put Giant Slayer into the D category, and it may even be in the E category, and the reason why is unless you're like a 6'3" or 6'4" guard, this badge really won't help you that much because most players are not taller than 6'9". So if you're like 6'6" or 6'7", or even taller, this badge is completely useless for you because you're barely ever going to be going up against players that are tall enough to give this badge a significant boost. So it's really not putting on, like I said, unless you're a really small guard, then maybe you could invest in Giant Slayer. It might be worth it if you have a lot of finishing badges and you want to be dunking over big men, but it won't really help as much if people are only 2 or 3 inches taller than you, and if they're the same height as you, it'll do absolutely nothing. So Giant Slayer really isn't a badge that you need unless you're a really small player. Next up we have Heat Seeker right here. And Heat Seeker I'm going to put into the A category as well. This is a really good badge, to be honest, especially if you have a slasher takeover. If you have a slasher takeover on your build, you definitely want this badge probably onto Hall of Fame, or definitely onto Hall of Fame, because it's going to help you out so much with getting your takeover. You'll basically get it instantly. If you dunk on somebody or something and you have the slasher takeover, you're going to get it like instantly if you have this badge on Hall of Fame because it helps that much. But if you don't have the slasher takeover, you could take it or leave it. It's still a decent badge, but if you do have the slashing takeover, you're going to make sure you want to have Heat Seeker onto probably Hall of Fame right here. Now next up we have Highlight Film, and I'm going to put this badge into the C category, and the reason why is the jury's kind of still out on this badge, whether it's really good or not as good. What it does is if you do a dunk on the fast break or a dunk with style, like a fancy dunk or whatever, it will give a boost to all of your teammates' takeover progression. So it is a decent badge if you're looking to do that, but to be honest, I wouldn't recommend putting this badge on unless you have at least maybe 18, 19, 20 finishing badges. Otherwise, I wouldn't even look at this badge, just because I think it's so much more important to focus on badges that will help you finish at the rim consistently before you focus on badges that will help your teammates get takeover, especially if you're playing 2s or 3s in the park. Maybe if you're playing in the rec or the pro-am, this would be a lot better of a badge. But in the park, it's kind of a mid-tier badge, or at least that's how it seems so far. So I'm putting it in the C category right here, but it really could be anywhere in this area between B, C, D, anywhere in there. And next up we have Hook Specialist. Now I'm going to put this badge into the C category as well. If you shoot post hooks, you're going to want this badge. If you don't, it's useless. So I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory with this badge. Shoot post hooks, put it on for sure. Don't shoot post hooks, don't put it on for sure. And yeah, that's really all I have to say for that badge. Next up, we have Lob City Finisher, and I'm going to put this badge into the S category right here, and I'll explain why. So if you've ever played against like a 6'9" big man or something that just does contact alley-oops over and over again, you know it's a pretty overpowered strategy in the game right now with how good contact alley-oops are. And if you haven't tried this badge out yet, put it onto Hall of Fame, or if you can only get it to Gold, put it onto Gold and just try it out. Get your teammates to throw you some lobs, and I promise you, you're going to be going crazy. Now, you don't need this badge to catch lobs, but it does give a significant boost, so I recommend getting it if you're going to be catching a lot of lobs for sure, because it's definitely worth a few attribute points that you would have to invest into it. And next up we have everybody's favorite finishing badge right here, and that's going to be Posterizer. And I'm also going to put this into the S tier category for basically the same reason. You can get way more contact dunks with this badge, and obviously everybody wants to get as many contact dunks as possible. So I mean, Posterizer, definitely a really good badge, definitely a really fun badge as well. So I recommend getting this up as high as you can, and make sure you have all the best contact dunk animations equipped as well. And now next up we have Post Spin Technician, and this badge I'm actually going to put down to the D category right here. This is an okay badge in certain situations if you want to be doing that post spin cheese type of strategy. And I know this badge is called Post Spin Technician, but it also helps with spins while you're driving to the rim. So it is a decent badge, not one of the best badges. There's definitely quite a few badges that I would recommend over Post Spin Technician. But again, if you want to be doing the post spin cheese technique, then you could put this badge on for sure, and it'll definitely help out with that. But otherwise, you could probably ignore Post Spin Technician. Decent badge, but not the best. And now next up we have Pro Touch. And I'm going to put Pro Touch into the B category. This is a good badge. Not amazing, but it is a good badge. And I recommend putting it on if you have a high driving layup, but your driving dunk isn't quite as high. And even if your driving dunk is high, if you have like a 90 driving layup and like an 80 driving dunk or something like that, Pro Touch is definitely a good badge. And what a lot of people think it does is it helps you get more excellent release layups. that's not what it does. What it actually does is helps you make shots that are either only slightly early or slightly late. So if you're shooting earlies or lates on layups, this badge won't help you out at all, but it does help with slightly earlies and it does help with slightly lates. So it is a solid badge for any build that takes a lot of layups. Doesn't do anything for dunks, but it also does help if you aim your layups with your shot stick, which I don't recommend. It helps you with slightly left or slightly right releases as well. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about putting this badge on. But next up we have Putback Boss right here. And Putback Boss can go into the E category. It is a decent badge for big men if you're going to be putting the ball back up a lot, but I feel like a lot of big men this year are slashers and shooters. So when their teammate shoots, if he misses, usually you're going to be on the outside in the corner since you're a shooter as well. So you're not going to be getting as many offensive rebounds. I mean, that's just how I'm thinking, but if that's not how your build is set up, if you are getting a lot of offensive rebounds and going up with it, then Putback Boss is definitely a badge that you're going to want. But I just don't see the usage for 99% of builds in this game. That's why I'm putting it in the E category. But again, if you're getting a lot of offensive rebounds, you might want to invest in this badge. And another thing about this badge is you do need it equipped to unlock putback dunks. If you don't have Putback Boss on, you cannot get putback dunks. So keep that in mind as well when you're deciding if you want to put this badge on. But next up right here, we have Rise Up. This is one of the new badges as well, and I'm going to put this one into the C category. Basically, it helps with standing dunks, and that's pretty much it. It's a pretty straightforward badge. It helps, gives you a boost on standing dunks, helps you make them more consistently. Doesn't do much else. Decent badge, not amazing, not terrible, C category badge. And then next up we have Slithery Finisher right here, which again is an S tier category badge right here. And this is definitely a must-have badge for any slasher build. Any slasher build, whether you're only a decent slasher or you have like the 30 badge slasher, this is an essential badge. Basically what it does is it will help you slither, obviously, through contact at the rim, so you won't be getting like 90% covered layups. You might be able to get around the defender and get like a 10 or 20% contested layup, which is really good. And you might think that it lowers the chances of contact dunks, but it doesn't at all. It keeps the chances of getting contact dunks the same. All it does is help you when you do not activate a contact dunk animation, because you can't get contact dunks every single time. And if you don't get a contact dunk animation, you're going to want this badge so that you still have a chance of making the layup or the dunk. Otherwise, you're probably going to miss it. So this is a super important badge. Definitely an S tier category. One of the best badges in the game for sure. And yeah, really good. Now for the last badge right here, you could probably see we have nothing in the F category. But don't worry, that's about to change, because the last badge right here is Teardropper, and that drops all the way down to the F category. Now I'm not saying this badge is just super terrible useless, but I mean, to be honest, it kinda is. I don't see why you would put this badge on under any circumstances. I guess if you're shooting a lot of teardrops or floaters or whatever, but I feel like everybody has such high dunking attributes in this game. I don't really see anybody shooting floaters. I don't really see the point. If you do shoot floaters, put this badge on for sure, but you probably don't, and if you don't bother with this badge. It's basically useless. All it does is improves your ability to make floaters and runners. That's it. So if that's what you like to do, this is an amazing badge, but most people I think just try to go for dunks every time they're slashing into the rim, so I don't really see the purpose for this badge. And then there we go, that's the last badge right there. There's only 17 finishing badges in NBA 2K21 Next Gen, and this is how I rank them right here. Obviously I know everybody's not going to agree with my ranking, so if you have a difference of opinion, make sure you let me know in the comments. If you think a badge is a lot worse or a lot better than how I ranked it right here, let me know, so we can help out everybody find the best finishing badges for their specific build. And yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoy. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe to my channel if you're new. Like I said, I'm gonna have the best shooting, playmaking, defense, and all badges coming up soon. I'll also rank takeovers coming up soon, and also tons of build guides, so make sure you subscribe for all that, and also go follow my Twitch. The link will be in the description. But anyways, that's gonna be it. Alright, peace.